Hi, I'm Gailen Runge, and this is the Garment Makers Project Planner. I can't wait to show you what's in this. I love this. I use it all the time. I make a lot of garments. I sew bags. I use it for both. Let's take a look. So this is the Garment Makers Project Planner. Everything you need to dream, plan, and organize 12 projects. In here, it starts with your year. So there's a couple of different ways to use this project planner. I'm going to start with the most obvious, and we'll hit the second towards the end. So you start with a year. You have a big picture. You can write down events and things for which you will be sewing garments or plan to sew garments. You can do task list and action items for each month as well. Then you can pick 12 garments to track within the planner, and you have this handy dandy beautiful, it's almost like a color wheel, where it has different tasks that need to happen for the 12 different projects, and you can fill that in any way you want. You can color it in when it's accomplished, you can do a little check mark, you can do dates to try to keep yourself on track. And you get into, this is the heart of the planner. These are the project lists, and you have 12 projects, and each project has 4 pages. So these are the 4 pages. You have project information, like what the garment is, what pattern you're using, where you found it, any details, measurements, grading notes, adjustments, task checklists, and then swatches and samples. Let me show you one I did in my personal planner. Okay, so I have more than one, so this is one of the planners. Here's a project. So I wanted to make a tunic. This was my idea. And I had a pattern I wanted to start with, which is the Butterick B5734. I did check before filming this, and it is still available in some places. What I loved about it is these darling princess seams that go into a pocket construction. But the pattern itself has a deep V, has no sleeves, and I wanted it to be more businessy. So I took another pattern that I have that's more of a t-shirt pattern, and I used that to sort of create a hybrid pattern. And I took notes on exactly what I did. So like here, I mentioned that I'm replacing the V-neck, I'm adding sleeves, I'm gonna try a cuff, I'm removing gathers from the pattern, so I'm just gonna measure between the 2 notches, any sort of tips and hints that you need to recreate it. Doesn't really matter if I'm never gonna make it again, what I've done, but I tend to revisit garments over and over, and I bet you do as well, if something works, right? So the wrap-up notes have sort of the results. In the end, I thought the sleeves were a little tight, so maybe add another 1/2 inch. I have the pattern, I've attached it to the original. I love the exposed zipper, and I love the fabric weight I used. So it's kind of a way to wrap everything up and make it repeatable. So after you get through the 12 projects, you have a variety of tracking logs. So it's things like, what garments have you always wanted to sew? That's kind of the garment bucket list page. There's an owned pattern page where you write the name of the garment, the pattern designer, any sort of details, what sizes it comes in, have you made it, do you have a muslin for it? I don't know about you, but I make wearable muslins, and so I forget what I've done with them, where they are. You can take whatever notes you want. On this side, it's a stash record, so it's your fabrics. Measurements and notes for anybody you regularly sew for. This is for your UFOs. I'm sure I'm not the only one. You have garments that you've started but haven't finished. This kind of explains, where did you leave off? What are the challenges for completion, so that you don't go back in 6 months or the next year and say, what the heck was I doing? Well, you might still do that, but you can have a record now. This is a technique resource where, like, I love doing bound buttonholes, and I never remember how to do bound buttonholes, so I just list the blog that I go back to every time for the bound buttonholes. This is if you're trying to make a gift for someone. Here's all of the information about the recipient. These are local fabric stores and machine shop contact information. So I just want to show you an example of filling in some of these pages from another one of my books. So here's what I did in terms of own patterns. These are patterns I bought during the course of the year. I said, you know, what it is, like the Ilford jacket from the Friday Pattern Company, This is some of the materials that I bought that year. I don't do it for all my materials, just if it's like a larger amount, so like 4 yards, 57-inch wide, that sort of thing. So it just helps you keep track of it all. And then this is the other way you can use the book. I mentioned that earlier. This is the capsule wardrobe. So I don't know if everybody's heard of a capsule wardrobe, but it's an interchangeable group of garments and accessories. And the idea is that you mix and match them. So you make pants and shirts and jackets and scarves, whatever you need. So this kind of helps you plot that. So you would use this checklist for the items you would want in your capsule. If you have any owned or purchased accessories you're going to use with it, color palette ideas, fabric ideas. And once you kind of hone in on it, you can record your main colors and accents, your main textures and texture accents. And then if you want let's say each type of garment you want. So you want a jacket, I'm thinking that it's going to be a cropped jacket. I might want to look at these 3 to consider it, that sort of thing. So it's different ways that you can sort of plot it early on, and then you go back to your project planning and you use these 12 projects for your capsule wardrobe. Then in the end, there's a reference section. So standard sizes, fabric care, patterns, abbreviations, and symbols, technique terminology. So if you need to be reminded about what a French seam is or what state stitching is, that's here. Where to take body measurements. And finally, all of the gorgeous photos in this tracker are from independent pattern companies. And so this is the page where you'll go and you'll say, oh my gosh, these spark leggings are my next thing I'm going to sew. And I have to say, I have probably sewn 6 or 7 spark leggings. You can come over here and find that it's a Green Style Creations and how to find those patterns. So this is the Garment Maker's Project Planner, and that's why I love it.